Live stream has started now. I think we have I mean, some time till the session starts, right?
Uh, he has to allow people first. There's no. All the co-hosts, can you see all the people coming in? Make me the co-host, please.
Hi everyone. Hi Karanveer. Hi Anushka. Hi Kavita. How's it going?
Oh, hello, Tejas sir.
Good.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How have you been, Anushka?
Good.
Nice.
So glad to see you here.
Well, congratulations on pulling this off. This seems like an incredible feat.
Thank you.
And I'm kind of really excited how you've started conversations around involvement of entrepreneurship in public schools.
Yes. Yes. So there are three more interesting people coming in. So I'm sure you're gonna have a really good time with them.
Oh, that's incredible. How's it going, Karanveer? We got a chance to
Good,
briefly
good.
speak last night.
Yes. We're so happy that we're doing this. It's an absolute joyride. We have our guests joining in. We'll wait for a few minutes. In a few minutes, we'll start. Right?
Got it. Take your time. Take your time.
Namaste, Kumar ji. Welcome.
Namaste. Thank you, Arun. Namaste, everyone.
Namaste. Kumar, I was generally curious to know this thing. I got a chance to see the great work you've been doing. And
Mhm.
is Kumar your first name or your second name?
So Kumar is my first name. Subham is my second name. I don't have a last name.
Oh, that's nice. Okay. But I got a chance to go through the incredible work that you've been doing, and I was really impressed. I was happy to actually see everything that you've done, and I was also able to see that you've done some work with IIDL as well. Uh,
Yeah, I teach at
Devendra
IIT.
Pai sir, and you teach at IIDL. Oh, I didn't know that.
Till I think sixth batch, I was a faculty teaching governance and tech policy.
Oh, amazing. Devendra Pai sir is a good friend.
Oh,
Uh,
wonderful.
and
Same here.
this is incredible.
Nice to meet you, Tejas here. Let's connect.
Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure,
Process.
man. Yes. Is Banerjee still heading IIDL?
Yeah. In fact, now he is based out of Mumbai for a large part of the month. So there is
Oh,
much more
wow.
time that IIDL gets from energy.
Oh, that's incredible. And the Mr. Fadnavis still remains the chairperson for it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Karen, I think only Sanjay sir is left to join the meeting. So should we start?
I'm just reaching out. Let's wait for a few minutes. Right? In a few minutes, we can start. Right?
You guys are running this initiative from Delhi, right?
Currently, we are all in different places. We are all at our homes.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
I'm in
nice.
Indore only. Karan is in Raipur.
Okay.
Shubham sir is in Delhi.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Okay. But where did this idea come from? Like, what's the background of Gullak Dialogues?
Karan, would you like to go ahead with this?
Right. Hi. So this is part of a policy brief and a policy pitch that we're making. It's a 4 month project wherein we are including entrepreneurship curriculum frameworks as well. Right. So this is just an entire exercise to gather as much information as we can for this specific topic focused on public schools.
So
And
we're
this summit for 2 days is designed in a way to gather as much information that we can and insights for this.
Got it. That's
we're
incredible.
part,
Right.
we're part of this program called India House Policy Pioneers, and Shubham ji is the founder. So under his guidance and mentorship, we have been given this project. It's called Hands-On Project. So our agenda, our topic was to integrate entrepreneurship in public schools. So this is just a part of the research, this summit, and we are also doing some primary research along the way. We are going to schools and running surveys and all of that, so that with all of it together, we'll come up with a national policy pitch to propose.
Oh, that's incredible. And this policy pitch you're making too?
Ministry of Education, we are under the mentorship of Abhishek sir. He is our mentor for the project. He's also a policy
Got it.
analyst. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so as a result of this, are there going to be some white papers as well, or like what's the ultimate outcome of it? You're going to
Um,
submit a white paper or a policy paper or what to the ministry?
so we're gonna make a handbook. The ultimate goal is to come up with a handbook that we will be submitting to India House, right, Shubham ji?
Yes, the objective is that this acts um, as a real world experience on how policy making works. So, integrating entrepreneurship in school curriculum is the vision. How do we translate this vision into a policy language that the government can then enable? So the handbook is to enable Ministry of Education to integrate this curriculum. So this will flow in some parts into the NCF, some parts into the NEP, some parts into uh, the Atal Innovation Mission, uh, and we will learn how to articulate this vision into something that policy can then uh, uh, what what would a policy language mean to articulate this vision. That would be the goal. Each team, 4 to 5 people, works with a bureaucrat, works with an officer from Government of India, um, who is responsible for that particular domain. And Anushka, Karan, each of them are working with a team that aims to do this particular work, which is to enable entrepreneurship in school curriculum. Does this answer your question, Tejas?
I think there's some network issue. Yeah, he's not in the meeting.
Let's wait for a while for him to come back.
My bad. I think it was my unstable network. Are we starting now?
Yeah,
Yes, I think we should start.
we
He's
should
just
stop.
joined in some time. Yes, Jatin brother, can you can you be visible, please? Yes.
Yes, hi guys.
Good morning.
Yes, so Vaishnavi, you can take over from here. Yes.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm Vaishnavi Mahesh, a student in class 11th, studying in Delhi Private School in the United Arab Emirates, and an intern at Sarkari School. Sarkari School is a collective movement dedicated to reimagining public education in India, building bridges between policy, practice, and research to ensure that every child has access to quality learning and opportunities. I'm delighted to welcome you to day two, session one of the Gullak Dialogue, the Entrepreneurs Roundtable. Today, we are focusing on a topic that is deeply relevant to the future of India's public education system. How do we nurture entrepreneurial mindsets among students and educators in public schools? Entrepreneurship is no longer just about starting a company. It is about problem solving, innovation, resilience, financial awareness, and the confidence to convert ideas into action. These skills can transform a classroom, a school, and ultimately a community. But we know there are gaps. Limited exposure to real world entrepreneurship, lack of structured innovation or product thinking training, teachers who want to guide students but don't have resources, and the misconception that innovation is only for the privileged schools. This roundtable brings together leaders who have built organizations, products, and ecosystems from scratch, and whose journeys offer practical lessons for public schools. Before we move on, let's understand what Gullak Dialogue is. Gullak Dialogue is a research led online school entrepreneurship summit that brings evidence, field insights, educators, and practitioners together to strengthen entrepreneurial learning in India's public schools. Guided by the belief every child a change maker, it promotes a policy framework that embeds entrepreneurship in public schools through mindset, thinking skills, business, economic literacy, innovation, and ethical responsibility. More than creating businesses, it focuses on confidence, problem solving, and agency, aligning with NEP 2020's push for skills and experiential learning. Gullak Dialogue positions entrepreneurship education as a catalyst for student empowerment and national development. Let me introduce our esteemed panelists. Mr. Tejas Kumar Jain, founder of MU20 School of Opportunity, an institution designed to give young people under 20 early access to market exposure, industry trends, and real world skill building. And an alumnus of ISB Hyderabad, he works at an intersection of career exploration, talent development, and global educational transformation with strong roots in social impact. Mr. Jatin Khurana, founder and CEO of Polar AI, building an enterprise clarity OS and taking organizations from data to decision. He brings expertise in SaaS, entrepreneurship, marketing, and enterprise problem solving, representing the new generation of tech driven founders. Mr. Kumar Subham, co-founder and CEO of India House, an IIT Delhi alumnus. He focuses on governance, public policy, institution building, and social entrepreneurship, working on human excellence for nation building. His experience includes consulting, leadership development, and supporting mission driven organizations. And lastly, Mr. Sanjay Sehgal, Chairman and CEO of Aziro, a global technology leader recognized among the red herring top 100 Asia entrepreneurs. His work spans digital transformation, enterprise solutions, leadership, and angel investing. He is known for guiding founders beyond the hustle, focusing on long term clarity, resilience, and purpose driven entrepreneurship. Thank you to all our speakers for joining us. Now, I would like to request all the speakers to enlighten us with their understanding of the theme of today's roundtable discussion, exploring innovative pathways for fostering entrepreneurship among students and educators in public schools. The speakers may respond in whichever order they may prefer, keeping in mind the fact that we have limited time and are willing to make the most out of this session. I request all of you to keep your answers short and concise.
I'll take the lead. Thank you so much, Vaishnavi, for the warm introduction. And I think this is an incredible initiative all of you have taken. And this is going to start conversations around why is it important to inculcate problem solving in school so that we can create a generation of entrepreneurs for this country. Now, I generally think that the entire topic that we're talking about, the entire, like if we were to talk about the horizons of it, I generally think that entrepreneurship is culmination of all three skills: technical skills, human skills, and conceptual skills. And if you were to look at our education system, it's mostly designed to teach us technical skills. It does not really give us a lot of opportunities to explore human skills and conceptual skills. And that is where we lack in terms of producing good entrepreneurs. So now I think I generally want this conversation to be around how we can create opportunities that enable students to get more exposure in terms of, let's say, opportunities that let them develop human skills and conceptual skills, which would further lead them to become better entrepreneurs, or like first of all would unlock the possibility of they looking at themselves as a problem solver and can think of becoming an entrepreneur.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate the way you divided this into those three skills, the human skills, conception skills, and technical skills. It is highly appreciated. Okay.
Jatin, Kumar, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I can go ahead next. So I will take forward from the cue given by Tejas already on this. Uh, if I just go back and reflect on what my school was like, or what schools in general are like, we enter into a class, the teacher tells us which subject it is. We open up a specific subject, it may be maths or maybe history, and they are taught by a different teacher. We open up a book, the teacher tells us to open chapter number 4, which is of a different subdomain. The teacher makes us read through the lesson. The chapter ends with some questions that may be asked in the exam. And based on those questions, the teacher proposes an answer. We prepare our own answers based on either that book or some other book may have read on that same topic. And then we remember the answers one day before the exam again. And finally, the question includes one of the 20 most possible questions from the book, which either the teacher or some of the other books may have told us. Having studied in an education system like this, I am surprised and awed by the failure of the system to still have entrepreneurs in this nation. I am glad that our education system is poor. If our education system was great, we would have zero entrepreneurs, because the education system actively discourages us from entrepreneurship. It teaches us that the questions that you will be asked will be known beforehand. It teaches us that we will tell you what questions to ask. And it teaches us that this subject is different from this subject and you must study this subject at this particular time, which is not how the world of entrepreneurship operates. I think it was, and I say this with absolute conviction and apathy about our education system, that thankfully we did not teach it well. Had we taught it well, this session would not have happened. We would not have seen Tejas, Jatin, or Karan and Anushka taking lead in doing this. Whatever they learned from school that enabled this particular conversation is what they learned outside their classroom and not inside their classroom. It is what they learned in their tiffin period. It's what they learned with their peers post school. It's what they learned in their co-currics and not what they learned in the class. In fact, none of the skills required to even organize this call would have been taught in a school. Because the school was not great, most people in India still got the community wisdom, still got what they learned from their neighbors and from their friends' families and from their co-colleagues, that we got this done. I will take, as I mentioned, I will take cue from what Tejas mentioned. I will, in fact, define that entrepreneurship thrives on three things. One, it thrives on curiosity, it thrives on creativity, and it thrives on assimilation of knowledge. All three are currently missing in the way the pedagogy of our schools are. Our schools miss out on all three of them. It does not inspire curiosity. It does not lead me to ask questions. It just tells me what questions to ask. It does not include creativity because it tells me exactly what we are doing at any point of time and tells me now follow this. Do not be creative about it. It does not teach me assimilation of knowledge because it gives me a boxed knowledge package that this is the box and you must operate in this box. I think if the curriculum needs to change, it has to include all these three, which we are learning in schools, probably not in the classroom, in the not same boxes that the education system would want us to learn, but we learn it the other way. We learn it outside that classroom. We learn it with our friends and peers. We learn it from the same teachers, but not in the subjects that they are teaching, but probably in the clubs that they are running or in the events that we are doing at schools. That is the change I would want to see, Vaishnavi, in the way we imagine the education system.
Thank you, sir. I love the way you brought a positive factor out of our education system right now. It is very impressive.
I think
Next.
I'll go next. Sanjay sir, if you would want to go first for me.
Yeah, can I go, Jatin?
Please.
Yeah. I will have to sign off after that. And I think looking at all of you, I thought I'm in the wrong round table or panel. So, but which is very nice to see all the budding entrepreneurs being here talking about this topic. And I think uh, I perhaps went to school system when many of you were not even born. So you can imagine if you are talking about the deficiencies of the current school system. Imagine what it was when I went to school. We even didn't have a model entrepreneurs around us to really think about entrepreneurship, right? It was, but I think I would say that first of all, let us not think of entrepreneurship as only about starting a company or starting a business. It is, to me, entrepreneurship is an attitude. And I think someone just before me said very nicely, curiosity. Yes, I mean the interest and observation. Interest and observation are the two quality. And then after that, what do you need? I like to very kind of like to call it be bindas. After that, you have to unleash that from within yourself. That feeling of doing something new, feeling of doing. I mean, you can be an you can be a. I mean, I have seen my. I would. I mean, lack of sounding. I would say I shouldn't say racist and all, but I think someone who works for me as a driver, he's very entrepreneur. He's always comes up with new ways of doing things. And I always encourage him to utilize his attitude of entrepreneurship in doing something better and bigger. And that's, of course, I think if only we can have some mentors in while kids are going through school, I think they will get much better guidance. School system can only teach you so much. I think from what you can, like they say that old JF Kennedy's quote that don't ask what country can do for you, but what you can do for the country. I mean, what you can do for yourself, what you can do for the society around you. I think if children can focus, today's kids can focus on that, I think, if I may say so, to hell with the education system. Nothing can stop you. So I think, I guess I would just end there. And thanks a lot for inviting me. It's very nice to be talking to all the young, budding, or maybe established entrepreneurs in this forum. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable insights.
All right. So I have a slightly different take on it. I think school systems are important for each and everyone us to teach what we should not be doing. I mean, if we don't know what we should not be doing, how would we know what we should be doing? Right. So I think they're super important. They play that important part. And until you put that person or the kid, right, who's gonna come and flourish or come out as an entrepreneur in that environment where he understands that I do not want to be the slave anymore, uh, the person won't hit in realization. So I think kudos to that. But also, as an entrepreneur, I think I'll just take from Sanjay sir's point of an attitude. I think he's very, very right about that. What I feel personally is about, you know, if you're an employee as well, you can be an entrepreneur, right? If you're an employee by choice, you can still be an entrepreneur, right? If you're serving the system, the civil services, IAS, IRS, you can be an entrepreneur there. You can come up with new policies because we need good entrepreneurs at every single point to, take charge, is what I'm trying to say, right? So so the students need to make sure that whatever field they choose, right, whatever, so it doesn't have to be business, whatever field they choose, wherever they go, they just need to make sure that the attitude of entrepreneurship is ingrained in them since the beginning. And that's it. That would do everything. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for opening up the whole term of entrepreneurship to more than just a business. So, to dive deeper into today's discussion, now I would like to ask more specific and relevant questions regarding the theme. So, the first question is, what foundational product development and innovation skills should students learn in school to be future ready, and what gaps currently exist in teaching innovation?
You wanted to ask that question too?
It's a discussion, it's open to all.
Okay,
Can
you
you repeat
mentioned
the
that you
question
wanted to
once?
ask specific questions to individuals, but yeah. So what she's asking is that what are the lacunas right now in the system? How can we create more innovative mindset in the students? Is that what you're asking, Vaishnavi?
Yes.
Oh, that's incredible. Maybe I want to talk about it. So as much as I agree with the systemic failure of education system, I also know that there are pockets that are doing incredibly well. Fortunately, I have been working with roughly around 300 schools in this country, and I know that some of them have impressed me to an extent where I couldn't have even imagined that like these schools can create this powerful ecosystem. Right now, I'm sitting on the campus of Indian School of Business, and there's a school that has gotten roughly around 70, 80 kids on the ISB's campus, and all of them are making pitches to investors. These are 10th and 11th graders. And if somebody is, let's say, any of these investors are then further going to mentor these startups or like young entrepreneurs, and they will have access to an ecosystem which is going to be stronger. So I am a firm believer of this thing that I started my first organization when I was 18 years of age, and I could do that because of a lot of things that I learned in school. So fortunately, I think that there are pockets we can take inspiration from that are being able to do great work. But if we were to talk on system level, now if we were to look at education system as a whole, it not just in India but in most of the parts of the world, it's seen as a tool by the government to solve for let's say socio-economic liability. The government would look at individuals and they would look at rather education system as a tool to create socio-economic assets. So as an individual, like the government would not want me or anybody else to be a socio-economic liability. They don't want, so everybody who's, let's say, surviving on ration card, or probably if they're getting their meals because of ration card, or they're utilizing a lot of government schemes, it's an expense for the government. So now the primary purpose of education system becomes to help someone become employable. Now, do realize this thing that when we talk about helping someone become employable, we're talking about standardization of education system, which is going to create people who are fit for employment but might not be fit for entrepreneurship. So, on large scale, on let's say in grand scheme of things, the government is not really wrong in creating a system like that because not everybody can be an entrepreneur, and they need to have a system in place that is creating people who are employable. Because without that, like the country might just see a demographic failure, and we might never be able to get over it. So it's important to have that education system in place, but now our focus should be more on that. How can we produce more entrepreneurs? And if that's the idea, then what systemic change do we want to bring in there? So while the country is still focused on creating socio-economic assets from the education system with the help of education system, uh, how can we create pockets where there is innovation happening in such a way that is going to probably, let's say, inspire the next generation of entrepreneurs or next generation of, let's say, problem solvers? That's my take on that.
Thank you, sir.
I can go next. So there are three parts to this question. One is Jatin has expanded Tejas has expanded the mandate of this question to also rethink of the canvas on what education system should be doing or whatever the school system should be aiming for. So one part is that. Second part is uh, what are the skills that student need to learn. The third part is what does future ready might mean for school system. And the fourth part is how do we see this as a gap in the current landscape of teaching. Uh, so in terms of pure canvas, I think the fundamental goal of education is to make somebody confident. Uh, in a world which will incorporate AI, in a world in which knowledge will become a baseline because everybody would know the same things. With a GPT on the phone, with a perplexity on the phone, everybody knows the same amount of stuff. Everybody knows the basics of every domain. Everybody knows what does each domain mean, each knowledge source mean. Everybody knows what black soil is good for cotton and red soil is good for X and Y things. What we need to know is that which soil is my house standing on. Uh, so fundamentally, the goal of education, in my understanding, with this lens, is to make people confident. That people should feel confident about doing whatever they're doing. The second part is what currently exists as a gap in teaching. Uh, there is a big laundry list of things that I would want to see happen in education, and because I want to see them happen, I also see them as potential gaps. But fundamentally, our classrooms are not inspiring to the students at this point of time. We have made excellent attempts. There are a lot of bright spots. There are a lot of fireflies in otherwise a domain which I see a lot of darkness in. Uh, Great sparks of change. Sarkari school has documented a lot of them. We have known a lot of good examples of excellence by that. A great number of bureaucrats have done great work in the government education system. A great number of schools have done great work in their own systems of pedagogy or in their own systems of education, modes of education, where they have created more great change. But a large number of our 20 crore plus students still go through a same mundane education system, which is pedagogically uninspiring at this point of time. That's a fundamental gap, and there will be more gaps that will come along. The third part is what does it mean to be future ready? I have highlighted a bit of it when I say knowledge will become a baseline and context will become the skill required for a student to feel confident. Uh, in terms of what it needs right now is a linear change will not do the job. So if we change the textbooks, that solves some problem, but it does not help us imagine education itself. If we change the way our teachers are trained, it will still be a delta change, but it will still remain a delta change and not an exponential change. At this point of time, we need to think of education very differently. Uh, and this is not my original thought. I'm quoting a message that I received from one of my friends about it. It simply said, let's imagine the way our education system went. We went to the classroom, studied something, then there came an exam where a question came and we responded to that question. Now with AI, the responding to a question cannot be a test anymore because responding to a question, uh, Nano Banana will give a better response because they can also republish your own handwriting now. Uh, if uh, if it is just about knowing an answer, ChatGPT will give you an answer and that will respond faster. The classroom will need to be reflipped now. The classroom will need to be spaces where questions are asked and you respond, and your homework has to be spaces where you actually learn a concept. Because homework with AI is very simple to do without needing the necessity to learn that concept. This will require, and this is at the verge of repeating everyone who has worked in the education for last 50, 60 years, that we need to rethink the way we train. With AI, that training needs to be much more deeper. Can we flip the classroom in purely real context now? But the classroom are spaces where students respond, and homework is the spaces where the knowledge gets delivered. Number two, especially for building that entrepreneurial mindset that Sehgal sir or Jatin ji mentioned. I agree with the idea that probably we need not have everybody as entrepreneur and we need entrepreneurial mindset. And also concur with Tejas ji when he mentioned that what does that mindset mean? How to enable that mindset that I would be a conscious chooser of my life and my action in my life. What career path I am in is not a matter of chance, but it's a conscious choice whether I am an employee or an employer. Adding to that, I believe that entrepreneurial mindset will only come in when the students have that required level of confidence. I mean, for me, this entrepreneurial mindset is also an outcome of the student feeling confident in themselves and learning from what Tejas mentioned, probably also conscious. So this consciousness and confidence is what we need to inculcate. That will only come in if we reimagine what a classroom aims to do, or what a teacher aims to do, or what a school aims to do. That is, I believe, the gap in the current teaching innovation.
Thank you so much, sir, for your insight.
So, I think I am not an expert in this field when it comes to education. I think we have Kumar and Tejas talking more about it because they know the very grassroots of this field, right? So I may not be able to give you that expert opinion on this, but what I can do is from a student's angle myself. And what I would say is that instead of looking at the gaps and how to restructure the entire canvas from ground up, uh, I, as an entrepreneur myself, and when I work with my clients, I tend to talk about something that's an MVP, right? So minimum viable product. Uh, if so, of course, there's what I think Kumar and Tejas touched upon is something sort of an end in mind to what we aim to achieve, and what it should have been, what it should be. So that's great, and that clarity is something that I think people like them, if they have, because they are going to be the pioneers and the leaders in this. Right. So now, since they have this, people like us, what we need, and us and all the students I'm including, what we need to do is we need to come up with an MVP on how to start walking towards that phase. Right. Now, a simple minimum viable product for this would be how to integrate the new methodology with an existing one. It's as simple as that. Be it introducing AI, the usage of AI, making sure that every person understands AI. That an AI is just one field. I'm talking about nanotechnology. I'm talking about, supercomputers. I'm talking about, so other than tech, I'm talking about agri. So I feel technology and agriculture are the two major areas where things would really shape up the Indian economy. Right. So it's been high time now, since we've been pretty much the slaves and the outsourcing capital of the world. I really do not like that term pretty much, because I know many of our major companies are the outsourcing heads, but I hate that. I just hate that. I don't know why. But I mean, it's high time that we come up with a system that integrates with an existing system to inspire a league of future leaders, right? That are willing to come and step up and say that we need a new system now. We need, so the more amount of voices that we get, I think Gullak dialogue is one of those. Right? The more amount of voices that we get, I think that's the way to go about it. And that would the amount of voices we can gather is our MVP, is what I would say.
Just Vaishnavi ji, just taking a few minutes to add to what Jatin ji mentioned. And Jatin ji, thank
Yes.
you for laying out the path. The pathway will include this MVP. The pathway will include spaces like Gullak Dialogue to enable that. And just few suggestions to enable that MVP would be to include what Tejas mentioned as problem solving skills. Uh, how do we create problem solving as a mindset and as a skill? Uh, and probably also as case studies or as examples. This can be from school alumni group. This can be from the local neighborhood group. Somebody who opened up a shop in a new diamond, in a new business line in the same city. Somebody who created an industry in the same city, somebody who is an alum of the school and doing something great. So creating that aspiration, celebrating that person who is an entrepreneur. Uh, uh, Number two, creating that space for problem solving as a skill set to be built, and having that as a mindset in the way we teach. That will be my MVP suggestion. As Jatin highlighted, the importance of seeing it as also the first step and not only as a vision.
Thank you so much, all of you. Being a school student myself, I can relate to every single gaps that were mentioned, and every single solution is exciting. So let's move on to the next question, which is, which business and financial literacy concepts would have been most valuable for you to learn in school? And at what age should students begin learning about profit loss and market dynamics?
I think Vaishnavi, that's already happening. The concept of profits and interest and all of that is taught in probably grade 8th and 9th. But at the same point of time, if we were to talk about like this is not just about teaching them business or financial skills. Entrepreneurship is at its core about problem solving. So let's say if you were to talk about startups, you would see startups that would remain not profitable or loss making for good 10, 20 years. And like there would be investors keep putting in money into them because there are some great solutions. So let's say a simple example of it would be that maybe 20 years from now, I wouldn't have imagined ordering food online from a restaurant of my choice, because for me it was an experience to go out and have food at the restaurant. But now, how the behavioral change has come in the consumer because of the money Zomato would have flushed into, or probably they've put into changing the customer behavior. So they identified a problem where in big cities, maybe they want more convenience than experience, and then how they were able to enable this thing that uh, probably people should can or rather can order food at their place. In one of these interviews, I heard the founder of Paytm, Mr. Vijay Shekhar Sharma, speak about that how they had to invest roughly around 40,000 crores to teach India how to use QR codes. And now that has become, in a way, a very strong support, or probably, let's say, I wouldn't like to call it the backbone, but definitely an inevitable part of our economy now. So I think that if you're talking about entrepreneurship, I'm happy if we talk about profits and financial literacy and everything, but I think that's just a fragment of it, small part of it. Entrepreneurship is more about allowing them to understand how they can come up with solutions, or rather more sustainable, let's say, ways of solving problems. So maybe what might not appear like a solution today can be a great solution tomorrow. So it's about giving them that vision. So, but getting back to, is it important to teach them financial literacy? Yes. Is it important to teach them basics of business? Yes. But then that's for their personal development. That's not to make help them become entrepreneurs.
Yes, sir. Noted.
Thank you, Tejas. Um, and I think uh, fundamentally seeing how a business thinks is an important skill that can be taught. And I believe that can start from probably a class of class 6th or 7th itself as they enter secondary school. Uh, Making them see the invisible lines along which a business operates would be a great, in some ways, a chapter, or in some ways, an activity, or some ways, a project to be added at that age. Just talk to your local Golgappe wala. What is the input? Where is the raw material coming from? What is the processing? What is the value addition? What does profit might mean? How a 10 rupee Golgappa plate may lead to a profit of a few rupees. And what does that profit might mean? Knowing that flow is something that students should know as a business unit, and not only as a concept. The way we teach profit, the way I learned profit and loss, and I come from a very small town in Jharkhand. Uh, my schools, in my understanding, the way I have seen India in the last 10-15 years, my school represents a basic school, which we will call a basic school. Our English teacher taught English in Hindi. and our maths teacher stick to what is mentioned in the book. That is what most schools in India also do. Having come from that, for me, profit and loss were maths problems and not real world problems. I would want them to appear as a real world problem. I would want a student to go to a shop and see profit and loss in action. And just talk to a shopkeeper about, भैया आप पैसे सामान कहाँ से लाते हो? Where do you bring your sub objects from, and where do you sell, and who buys it and what price? These questions are important questions that a student may feel joy in asking more than the learning part. Just the joy of seeing this as a unit and seeing a a pan wala, a, a shop owner, a factory owner, a trader, and a Golgappe wala in the same lens, that this is a business. That is an important thought arc in a student's mind. Uh, that for me is the concept that we must teach in schools. We need everything what Tejas mentioned, and this is only an addition. That's my suggestion of what business and financial literacy concepts probably we can add. That's one vision, one idea that I wanted to have in my school. What Kavita ji has mentioned in the chat is an example of the same. Organizing a real world event in which they make something or provide something to service and sell.
Okay, thank you, sir, for connecting implementation and the ideation.
So I have a slightly different take on it. So I come from a finance background myself, right? And so I kind of know and I've studied finance. I live in a finance family. Uh, the idea of financial literacy is super important even before entrepreneurship, as per me. Uh, if you are smart with numbers, if you know something called as personal budgeting since a very early age, it helps leaps and bounds. Because let's get to the reality of it. At the end of the day, a business is all about how much you have earned, how much has gone into the investment, what is your general profit. So revenue minus expenses is profit. That's it. This is what a business is. And can you make it a sustainable model, serving your customers well so that they keep coming and have, of course, if you're doing something related to social, then of course having a social impact. To make sure this model happens well, we raise from existing investors. So we called such people as investors, angels, who come, or VCs, right? And VCs, let me also tell you that VCs are also some people who they don't own the money. They also raise it from the LPs, right? So
LPs.
they have
Yeah.
they have a back channel, right? And these LPs, what do they do? They are the ones who are already running a successful business. So that's the chain, right? That's the chain. So now, if a founder solves an amazing problem, lovely, does an amazing solution, satisfies the customer, but is poor with numbers in terms of budgeting, that are my margins actually fine? Are my margins actually decent? Am I able to serve this customer segment well? If I'm planning an expansion into some other industry, right, or some other segment, would that play fine? And if the founder does not know, and it has to be the founder, it couldn't be the CFO, the CEO, or whoever, right? Has to be the founder, right? And especially in the early stages. If that is not the case, then trust me, the business would one day or the other go to bust, right? Because it doesn't wait for anyone. The business does not. I have a take on the phases with which the financial literacy should come. So let's say by the age of 10 to 12, in that bracket, the basic concepts of budgeting, the so that the child tends to fall in love with finance. So I, as a personal anecdote, I used to be in a hostel when I was 10, right? It was in Chennai. And I had my monthly budget of 2,000 rupees, right, that I could spend on the canteen. Now, you won't believe, out of that 2,000, I used to save around 300 to 400 maximum. And so I was from a school, Omega International. So I used to save around 300 to 400 bucks. And I used to give that money back to my parents. I'm like, see, I saved this. You can now come and visit me more. And they used to be so teary eyed, and they'd be like, you do not have to do this. If you just want us to come, you can come. But then I would be like, I have sponsored you to come to me once a year. Right? That's a big thing for a parent. to understand. And that's a big thing for me to understand, right? Now, from there, I started to understand finance. Then when there's middle school, right? So there's the standards till 8th, 9th, and 10th is where I think the concepts of the real finance, and I'm not, and please understand, I'm talking about finance, right? I'm not talking about accounting. Please, I failed in accounting, just to tell you. I mean, I was really bad at it. I'm talking about finance. I'm talking about things like compound interest, investment basics, right? How to identify a company and everything. I'm talking such aspects, right? And trust me, that changed my life because before starting a business, I used to study the business models of existing companies. Now there's something called as an annual report of every company, right? Now if you read that's like a kundli of every company, right? It has everything in it. So just for those of you who don't know, just go and read the management discussion and analysis section in that. You'll know everything about that industry which the company is operating. So I used to do that, and I started to do that very young, by ninth only. So that gave me an okay business essay hota hai, something like that. It gave me those snippets of what an existing big business looks like. Great. Then comes the real implementation part, which is I think something like 11th to 12th is where I think I would second to what Kumar had said about having people start up on their own. I think what they just talked about, people coming in pitching, right, in ISB right now. So I think uh, understanding the falling in love with finance when you're young, making sure you understand some practicality of it in the middle school, and the high school is where you actually understand the entire market dynamics. You study the business models, right? And then if you can, please start up, have your own. I mean, every student in the world, world to छोड़ो यार, दुनिया को बाद में बदलेंगे, पहले इंडिया बदलते हैं. So every student in the country should definitely have a startup of their own. Doesn't not matter how small or big, because it just teaches you a lot, right? So I think this is how you go with finance.
I think, Jatin, that's a
Okay,
very
thank you.
interesting take. I want to add something, Vaishnavi. I think what Jatin and what Kumar said is truly incredible. I think teaching personal finance is basic. I mean, it has nothing to do with teaching student entrepreneurship. It's more it's more individual. It's more about development of the individual and less about teaching them entrepreneurship. If we were to talk about inclusion of financial literacy in our education system, I don't really think that it's even a topic of discussion, perhaps. And I'm sure that probably there are forces that are already working to implement that in the, let's say, volatile times that we live in, or rather, let's say, dynamic times that we live in. It is need of the hour. But also, Kumar, Jatin, I wanted to have your opinion on this thing. When we talk about teaching somebody business and teaching somebody, let's say, entrepreneurship, do you think that they're the same thing?
No, the business is pathway for entrepreneurship.
Is it?
Understanding a business is a subset of being entrepreneurial, or is a subset of uh, uh, ever being an entrepreneur.
What I feel is that the only way you can teach business is to do business. So there's no other way.
No, that's not my question. My question is that do you think that teaching business and teaching entrepreneurship are the same thing?
No, they're very different.
Yeah, that's what my take is also.
Yeah,
So right now, this conversation was more about teaching them business, not about teaching them entrepreneurship. So that's why I just wanted the moderation of it to be on the right lines.
they're two very different things.
Yeah, because I
I
mean,
agree. Yeah.
My understanding is teaching business is a subset of teaching entrepreneurship. Teaching
yeah, I'm
entrepreneurship
sure
has
about
to.
that. Yeah. So probably let's say just maybe if you want to give 2 minutes to understanding each other's idea of business and entrepreneurship, so that we have more clarity and we can contribute in a better way.
Okay. So, adding on to this discussion, would you be willing to share your entrepreneurial journey as a case study for students? And what aspects of your journey would be most educational for different age groups?
Okay, yeah, probably we can have that conversation while we do the differentiation. Uh, Jatin, do you want to start?
Please go ahead. I mean, you are either Kumar. Please take the lead.
Kumar, do you want to take the lead?
Okay, thank you. Um, so my entrepreneurial journey uh, started with the dream of being an entrepreneur. It was just cool in my college days. Uh, Everybody whom I knew was cool was doing entrepreneurship, so I started wanted to be an entrepreneur as well. I remember in my second year we took a session on social entrepreneurship, and the person who took that session was a social entrepreneur, and I wanted to be a social entrepreneur, and that was my fundamental call. Uh, do it because it's cool. uh, uh, my eventual journey of entrepreneurship started in a much very different fashion, where I really believed in the mission some of my friends were doing, and I joined in as a founding team member and later got elevated to a co-founder. Eventually, then also went back to actually serve in a non-profit, uh, where I was acting as a CEO and saw an at-scale operation, what at-scale uh, enterprise or at-scale organization looks like. And now, for the last few months, few years, I have been in the space of being an entrepreneur myself. Uh, my first part was probably seeing a 1 to 10 journey. The second part was probably seeing a 10 to 50 journey, and now I'm seeing a 0 to 1 journey. Uh, for me, the way I see India House, uh, I don't primarily. There's no entrepreneur. There's no uh, by definition an entrepreneurial uh, mindset as of now. The mindset has always been entrepreneurial in all three roles. There is no shift in mindset. There is greater ownership. There is definitely greater sense of responsibility, because uh, when you're building something, you are actually responsible for an idea, a vision that has just taken birth. And as with all children, uh, at birth, it requires much more greater care by the people who gave birth to it, by the parents of that idea, then eventually. So this is the first few years of that entrepreneurial venture, and that way I am much more careful and aware, and try to be as conscious as possible what shape I want to give India House. Having said that, entrepreneurship works differently in a social entrepreneurship setting than a business entrepreneurship setting or a purely profitable entrepreneurship setting. I'm in the social entrepreneurship space, where there is a constant uh, mental uh, this is a constant mental game which I play with myself on, is this why I started it? And every day the question comes in the beginning of the day, and I try to have an answer at the end of the day. Why was it started? It started with an idea that some problem needed to be solved. That problem was very close to my heart. At this point of time, for India House, the problem is that we don't have enough problem solvers for India. Uh, uh, while uh, while a lot of my own friends are ensuring that my uh, that people are clicking the right ads, and a lot of my friends are also ensuring that 100 crores are converted to 150 crores as fast as possible, and a lot of my friends are also ensuring my dhania gets delivered faster. I still believe problems that, for example, what we are discussing today are unsolved problems of India. We have not taken in the real grand challenges of India, the problems which have remained unsolved for the last 75, 80 years. uh, Ensuring people take up these paths as their missions in life, ensuring people take up these grand challenges of India as their problems to be solved, is the mission of India House. So for me, my entrepreneurial journey is about ensuring and thinking about what could be possible solutions to each of them, and hopefully some of my own India House's alums, some of India House's network people, or people outside the network as well, take up these problems, and we can play some role as our squirrel's contribution in their own journey of solving these problems. That is my entrepreneurial journey. I will also take in the cue from what the last articulation of business versus entrepreneurship was. Um, I think business is a transaction. Entrepreneurship is that state of being, and that is a fundamental distinction. Making a business means I get something and I give something in return. The mindset, which is the larger mindset driving me seeing value in it, is the entrepreneurial mindset. That entire space of uh, seeing value propositions is entrepreneurship. And that is for me the difference between entrepreneurship and business.
That's great. So I think if I were to talk about how do I look at it and like how my entrepreneurial journey has been. So I think I started with something and I'm now building something else. I don't really think that ideas come out fully formed, and gradually they evolve into something really meaningful. If I were to explain this, I think initially when Mark Zuckerberg had built Facebook, he had no idea that what is it going to become, how is it going to make revenue. But they were able to find a way that how are they going to draw traction in terms of getting people on their platform. Then came someone else and said that probably this could be a social networking site. And then once that became a social networking site, the question was that how are they going to make money out of this? Somebody came and said that maybe since there are so many people, this can become a great advertising platform. And that is how today Facebook would make most of its money from. So I think I look at entrepreneurial journey as a beginning of a personal journey where you get down to solving some problem, and then on that path you will keep identifying bigger problems and you will keep making pivots. And like tomorrow you like I started with an experiential learning organization wherein my idea was that I am a product of soft skills and I was able to learn conceptual skills because of everything that I learned outside the classroom. And I started with an organization where I just wanted to connect colleges and create experiential learning programs for students. Later, I was able to identify gaps, and now we're building an AI native career acceleration engine for students, which is going to help them understand that how career discovery works, how career exploration works, and how they can actually create careers. So, what started as a small experiential learning company, probably let's say 7, 8 years from now, is now transforming into a career acceleration engine for like students. So, I generally think that it's if you stick with an industry or probably with an idea for long enough, they evolve into something far more meaningful, something far more impactful. But more often than not, because people look at it as a profit and loss game, a lot of people lose interest early. So maybe 2 years, 3 years of not making profits, and people might start to think that, oh, this is not going to work. Perhaps let's shift to something else. But I'm a firm believer of this thing that if you're going to stay with a problem for a considerable amount of time, you will start to see other problems that are attached to it. And then like you will be able to identify problems that are worth solving and can also at the same amount of time make money for the investors. Because as much as we would like to believe that so we come from different worlds. I like Kumar is building a social enterprise, and that's great. But also when we talk about enterprises that have to make money for the investors, because like that becomes one of the crucial games for organizations like me, so that we can keep bringing in money, so that we can keep working on like the impact that we want to create. So over here, we want to solve a problem, but we also want to solve it in such a way that it is being able to make money, so that like we can keep increasing the scale of it. If it's not making money, there would not be, I will never be able to achieve the scale of it. If I fail to impress my investors, if I fail to tell them that maybe this problem that I'm right now solving for 2,000 people can be solved for 20 million people across the globe, I know this for a fact that I would limit my scope to just 2,000 people. And I don't want to live with that kind of impact that like it's there's no harm in like probably just catering to 2,000 people, but to grow your impact is or to bring in that scale in anything that you do is a crucial part of entrepreneurship. I think what differentiates business from entrepreneurship for me is the scale element. Uh, as rightly mentioned, maybe taking from Kumar mentioned about the Golgappa example. I think it's an incredible business, but to be able to turn it into an entrepreneurial venture where you're looking at it as a QSR, where let's say everywhere you go, it's the same Golgappa company that's serving Golgappas, that comes with scale. So I think that story, that's vision, that ability to be able to think in terms of scale is what differentiates a normal business from an entrepreneurial venture for me. So I think a business can be sustainable in a shop as well, but to be able to call it more entrepreneurial, I think it is about the problem that you're solving, and it's also about the scale that you can achieve with it. So that's my take on it.
Wait, I think you would have come up with the example of the momos wala thela versus wow momos.
Yeah, right. That I think is the best example for differentiation between business and entrepreneurship.
So I think my journey for entrepreneurship started when after my college. So I am from NMIMS Mumbai, and I did my finance there and all that. So after I got into investment banking, and I left that job in 7 days. I came to my dad. I'm like, Dad, I really do not want to do it. He's like, why? He's like, the second day I went to my manager and I started telling him that why are we not doing it like this? Why is the system so bad? Why can we do it? I have a good way. So I always wanted, and then he said, no, 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 don't do it like that. I was like, screw you, man. I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna do whatever I want, right? And then actually I started off my venture. That was the first thing. So there was an ego issue. The second thing was I wanted to make a lot of money. Honestly, I just wanted to make a lot of money because I am a strong believer of the philosophy that if good people do not make money, then the bad would, right? So I was like, if the good people are not sitting in the good positions, right, then of course the bad would occupy them. So the idea of entrepreneurship for me and the journey has been started something. First, the first one did not work out very well. Then started something into the social entrepreneurship space, and it was working out amazingly. We got, funded by the government of India as well. So met Modi ji and all of that. So everything happened, but then we wanted to. So that's still on a back burner. That's still going on, and then of course started a new thing with. It's been around 2.5 years now, and I second to what Tejas just said, right? So where you started to what you have become is very different, right? So I think all I would say to the students, coming to the students' perspective, rather than talking much about myself, is that the only skill, the only trait, the only thing that you need to be an entrepreneur, there's only one quality, as per me, and that's persistence. Persistence is the, I mean, जो होता है ना कि सर झुकाओ काम करो types. And if you're like that, you'll be facing your parents, you'll be facing the society, you'll be facing your friends, you'll be facing your loved ones. And now that's just the existing structure. You'll be facing the ones who you don't even know of yet. You'll be facing your competitors, you'll be facing your investors, clients, how to get those systems, employees, everyone. You're going to be facing everyone. The only thing that you need to do is chup chap sar jhukao kaam karo, right? So you just need to be persistent with what you're doing, right? And at the end of the day, when you go to bed, you just should have that satisfaction that okay, I'm working. That's it. There's no other key to entrepreneurship as for me, and this is something that has been working out for me because I'm in the industry of enterprise sales, so enterprise SaaS, right? So my product, so a few of our clients are Prabhudas, Leela, Motilal Oswal, and such big companies, right? There's a big financial institutions. I mean, we are in talks with Zerodha as well to buy the product. But what I'm trying to say is that now these are the success stories. The ones that we have been nurturing them for the past 8 to 9 months so that we could get them to say a yes to take the product. And that's enterprise. With D2C, you would probably get immediate traction. But to make a sustainable model, you may need time, right? So that you could build that brand loyalty, customer loyalty, and all that stuff. So what I'm trying to say is that just be persistent. Just keep going. If you feel like quitting, just come to Kumar Bhai and ask him, please take me into India House. And I'm sure he'll tell you to begin again and start again and not quit. Is what I'm trying to say. Just close your eyes and just imagine why you started. That's the most amount of motivation and the reason that probably.
Okay, thank you everyone for giving us the inspiration and real life examples and your own examples so that the students can implement entrepreneurship. Now, moving on to a question which is very relevant as we have a social entrepreneur here and we have someone who believes that good positions should go to good people. So, my next question is how important are ethics, social responsibility, and sustainability in your business? And how can schools effectively instill these values in young entrepreneurs?
Okay, I can begin. I have a very short
Yes.
response to it. Um, I think uh, ethics, social responsibility primarily means you care. If we can instill that mindset of care in students, that you care and you matter, uh, these this idea that probably what you do makes a difference in this world, even if you're an individual, and that matters, and the importance of you caring enough for the world. This too is the fundamental lens or fundamental trait that we may develop in our school system to enable that.
I think that's incredible. Yeah. I also think that if you were to talk about ethics and morals and probably social responsibility, that's quintessential. That's something that uh, I think is should become the basis of everything. Our country has seen scams big enough. As Jatin rightly said, that it's important for us to place people who would have that conscience, would have those ethics in public position of powers, or positions of power, so that like the country can make progressive, let's say, we're growing that way. So I am a firm believer of this thing, but I'm not really sure. I don't really have any idea about this, that how do you cultivate that? Perhaps for me, I know this for a fact that it came by being inspired from a few people. Could be teachers, could be somebody in your family, could be somebody you genuinely admire. But I don't really think that just giving them lectures or teaching them something on these grounds can actually make somebody ethical or to make the morals right, because all of these are too subjective. Maybe perhaps for ethics we have a definition, but morals might differ for everyone. So I think for me, a great understanding of it, and let's say what motivated me to be that way, uh, would be seeking inspiration from some people who were really great at their work and how ethically strong they were in their pursuit of excellence. And I think, yeah, that if we can have teachers like those who can inspire students to be that way, I think that would be great. But that's my take on that.
So I feel the students, from the age of 5 to 15, right, they have that capability. They observe a lot, right? Their surroundings, their observation skills are over the charts, right? They're better than any of us in this room until
Mm.
you're 15 or below, right? What I would say is that the the only way to teach them ethics, to talk to them about ethics, is to make sure, is to just be a role model for them,
Mm.
and that's the only way. So for me, my role model for ethics is my dad, right? And it comes a lot from the parents, right? The fact that you guys are conducting this, the fact that you guys are here, uh, I mean, kudos to your mom and dad, right? I would say that, right? So for me, that role model is my dad in terms of ethics. He's been into the industry for 30 years now, and I've seen him work day and night. And I've seen situations where he would have taken some, a shortcut, but he chose not to. And I've seen with those, I'm not talking about the ones that I've seen now. I'm talking about I was young and I was seeing that. And that instilled in me this quality that, yeah, if we don't take the shortcut, that's still a better route, the other one. Because I'll tell
Right.
you, these temptations, right? I mean, we live in a world full of temptations. But it's our parents, it's our friends, it's our teachers, it's our role models. One of my biggest role models, of course, the biggest of all is Daji, right? Looking at his journey and everything, uh, the global guide of heartfulness. It's, I mean, I just learn everything from them. And the only way to teach students is to just give them exposure to these people. And the other things, they're smart enough to, they'll do it themselves. They'll observe themselves, they'll inculcate it themselves and everything. Of course, they need to be, and the first and foremost is their parents who need to tell them that an immediate thing on what, like, this is wrong and this is right. So that is a very tender age. But on and above, an ongoing thing is something that I think you should be kept to themselves. I mean, at least they should know what it is. Other than that, we all of us, we have free will and we will do what we want.
Okay, thank you for your opinions on this topic. Let's move on to a question that is coming from the audience, and that is, how do children with limited means or limited resources work on their ideas, and how can teachers help them in this regard?
Okay, I can go first. Um, I think kids, by design, by who they are, uh, want to work on ideas and they enjoy doing that. Tell them a bigger problem to solve, not know the steps, but they want to work on ideas. We cannot help. We so that's natural to them. The how is very simple, that they figure out a way on their own. As teachers and mentors, probably just ensuring that they feel good about doing it is important. Uh, Being able to celebrate failures while they are doing it is also extremely important. Over time, I was in Gullak Dialogue session one yesterday, and somebody said it very nicely that entrepreneurship or training for entrepreneurship or training for enterprising uh, in schools has to start with celebrating failures. And I think what students, what parents or teachers can do about kids who are working on ideas with limited means or limited resources, or with or without limited resources, uh, both ways need to have celebration of failure. If you fail, it's okay. The attempt matters more. The way our exam system works is that give us the final outcome, that okay, you have failed and you have not, okay, you have done great, and others don't get acknowledgement. In the case of working on ideas, acknowledgement or just a basic recognition that you made an attempt, something which was a hard problem to solve, and celebrating that attempt is what needs to be done at a parent or a teacher level, at a parent, educator, mentor, teacher level.
I think my take on it is the same. It's about making them comfortable with failure. Over the years, I've had this thesis that, or rather, I believe in this thing that people who we consider successful are people who have failed more number of times than people we might not consider successful. It's just that they never kept, like they kept trying, they never stopped. So I know this for a fact that eventually the world would only start to see that how you became successful. But if you were to look back, people who became more successful would have failed more number of times than people who did not, who would not qualify, or probably be like, let's say the general notion of success might not just fit to their narrative. Uh, right. I don't know. Somebody mentioned Lenskart. Before that, like these folks had tried building jewel cart and I don't know, watch cart and so many carts. None of them worked, but then finally Lenskart did. And now nobody would remember that, oh, jewel cart was probably a flop idea, or probably watch cart didn't work out, or some other cart didn't work out. So I generally think that it's about teaching them how to fail. And I'm talking of that, I also want to go on the previous question where I could not actually identify. I was thinking about it. Uh, I think if you were to teach ethics also to students, there has to be a reward system around it. Now, as Jatin rightly said, that probably students who are 5 to 15 would be far more, are going to be 100% better than us in terms of probably relying on their understanding of what's wrong and what's right, and they would not like to step boundaries and they would not like to step those lines. I generally think that if we can develop a rewarding mechanism around it where it kind of gets ingrained in them and it became a part of their neural wiring, that let's say to not probably do the right thing is doing the wrong thing. So I think if we can create a rewarding system around students valuing ethics, I think that might help. But also, this is different from me trying to make them. This is different from compliance. This is about giving them understanding of what ethics are, and then creating a reward system around it. So I think, yeah, two things: creating a reward system around people who follow those norms, and then making them more comfortable with failure is going to set them on a path which is where the odds of becoming successful are much higher for any individual.
I think the gamifying system and the rewarding, it's a fantastic idea. I think, I mean, they just please do it. Some of
No,
your
I'm exactly doing that.
I think no, for the youngsters as well. I think you can.
I only work with schools, so I only work with people under the age of 20.
Oh, that's beautiful then. I think, I mean, that's like, wow, if I would have been a part of that, I would have loved to do it, right, myself. But making the ethics fun is the entire
Right.
aspect of it. That's beautiful, even to think about it, right? So thank you for doing that. I mean, I would say that, right? So on the other hand, coming to the question, right, what Kavita, I think, asked about the children with limited means and resources, guys, I feel so. I know for a matter of fact that sometimes the limited means and limited resources, it's an actual cause, but a lot of times it's also the mindset, right? So more than the means and resources, it's about limited mindset is what I would rather touch upon this. So if you yourself do not believe that you can crack something up, no amount of resources can help you do that, right? I mean as straight as that. If so we talk about silver spoons, right? We talk about let me go to a controversial thing, right? We talk about nepotism in Bollywood and all those stuff, right? That why are they getting, and the youngsters. But guys, if you notice, not at the end of the day, customer is the king, public is the king. Not a lot of these young nepo kids, they work out. They don't. So a few nepo kids that have worked out, let me point you out, are Ranbir Kapoor, Alia Bhatt, Shraddha Kapoor. Not because they're nepo kids, but because they're actually talented. I mean, they could bring that pull in the masses. And on the other hand, we have someone like Shah Rukh Khan who's above everyone in this race, right? Above any nepo kid because of that mindset. I'm a big SRK fan, so I would probably quote him again and again. So, I mean, right? And so I'm not talking about how it's toxic for the newcomers. It is. I mean, I'm not in getting into that conversation. That's true. I mean, I won't even touch upon it. But the fact that you're reaching there is all about your mindset. It's not the resources. Because as an entrepreneur, as Tejas mentioned, it is your job to solve a problem. So the moment you have so your problem is limited resources. How do you solve it? Your problem is limited means. How do you solve it? And just take it as a game. So there are levels to the game. Now, level 1 is to solve X problem. Level 2 is to solve Y problem. Level 3 to solve Z problem. That's it. The moment you inculcate that entrepreneurial mindset within, is that okay? Limited resources, तो क्या हो गया? I'll not shut my business even if, or I will not shut whatever I'm doing even if they're limited resources. I'll make sure that resources come up. Do you think Vijay Shekhar Sharma did not have limited resources ka issue? I mean, do you think any of these founders, I mean, that we see, do you think Piyush Bansal did not have this issue after failing so many times? They did. Every entrepreneur does. If you're even running a good business, you have a decent family background, but you need to make sure that your business is served with money and decent. So resources, not just money, it's also about good amount of talent, people, skilled labor, and everything, right? So that's a problem that all of us face. It's just about the mindset, is what I feel.
Okay, thank you so much for reminding us that we are not limited by resources, but by the mindset. And to get through the obstacles is what entrepreneurship is actually. So, the last question of the day is, what practical strategies or approaches have you found most effective in teaching innovation and entrepreneurial skills? And how could these be adopted in public schools?
Oh, I think I've got a strong take on that one. I generally think I'm a firm believer of this thing that if you can make kids enthusiastic about anything, I am sure that you can drive massive change. Let's say it's the same concept. Go and talk about the theory of physics, and it might not excite them. Show them an experiment, and they're going to be curious about it. So let's say if we're talking about teaching anything to the students, my idea has always been that how can you keep them engaged? At the moment, so imagine a class which is dull and mundane, and teachers delivering a lecture, and there's no interaction there. And I don't really think that the reception of students, or like the students, are going to be far less receptive than like from a classroom where there's engagement, where there is enthusiasm. So I think I more often than not resort to engagement, and I want to make students excited about anything that I want them to learn. And I first want to talk about, if they learn this, what can they possibly do with it? So that kind of gives me a strong hook. Like that has worked for me over the years, that I first want to go and talk to them about, like, if they pay attention to this class, by the end of it, they'll be able to do this. So it's more outcome driven, and which gives me their time for, or like their attention for next 10-15 minutes. And then my idea is to keep them excited about what we're doing. Of course, it like learning is a difficult process. It's not always going to be exciting, but there has to be enough excitement time to time for them to keep themselves engaged in learning any particular subject. So I think that's my take on that. Yeah. And also, just a second, also repeated exposure. I know this for a fact that I take a wonderful class today, I teach them something, and don't give them enough opportunities to build on that. I don't really think that that matters. There has to be an ecosystem where there is repetition happening. They have enough exposure coming in time to time for them to make progress in that field. Otherwise, it's just one exciting class that leads to nowhere. So I think repetition is important there.
Hmm, hmm. Thank you, Tejas, for setting the base. Uh, I really cherish the way my parents brought me up. So my father is a professor of geography. My mom is a teacher of biology. So everything living and non-living gets covered in them. Uh, and the way I learned in my childhood was just via a series of questions that either they asked or I asked. So I remember going to a river, and my father would ask me, uh, would tell me why the river flows from this direction to this direction and not the other way around. He would ask me to bring in different styles of rock, and I would go around for around an hour. He would sit and chat with my mom, and then I will come back with a set of rocks, and then he will tell me these all rocks are the same design, these are rocks are different design, why each rock is different, how they may have been formed, and how rock formation happens. And my mom would do the same thing with biology. I would bring in different types of leaf, I will bring in a twig, I will bring in a soil, and my mom would teach biology existing and all of that. I think that fundamental way of teaching from curiosity um, really cherished my childhood, and that made me a great questioner in a lot of things in life. Uh, from questioning on why is Sunday a holiday, to questioning why is my birth year 1994 and not any other year? Why is that year called 1994? Why is that year not called 2018? From questioning around uh, how did houses started getting formed in square shapes, to why eat certain types of things much more than other types of things. Very very fundamental ways in which we exist and we live, but just the art of asking questions is what I learned from them. Traditional Indian sciences call it Anvikshiki. Chanakya's way of teaching was this: uh, the classroom being run in a question answer format. uh, I saw that firsthand in my parents. That's something that I cherish the most, in the way that it taught me fundamentally to ask questions in the world. Probably some of them would be right questions to ask, and some of the questions we would carry for our own lifetimes, and that would become our missions, our own entrepreneurial journeys, or just our own personal vision for our own lives.
Right. So, I mean, the practical strategies, if you talk about, uh, it's nothing but just do it yourself. I mean, that's the only practical way. And as I think, in terms of the education system or the support, the only thing that you can do is provide them with an environment so that they're not afraid to try. The moment they're not afraid to try and they give it a shot, and then are supported. I'm practically talking about an incubation center, but a more free version of it, right? The moment you do that, they learn by themselves. Give them the freedom to figure out. That's the only strategy that I would have.
Thank you all for your wonderful answers. I would now like to give the mic to Ms. Kavita for the conclusion.
Hello, everyone. 1 minute. I'm sorry I have been on mute. I haven't been contributing actively because I'm traveling in rural Maharashtra. So, first of all, I'll introduce myself. I'm Kavita Sathe. I'm a chartered accountant by profession. I worked in corporate for over 13 years, and I left, quit my job 2 years back. Now I work in the social sector, and I do a project with Seva Sahyog on skill development. And I also work with a think tank in Pune where I lead the data department. So I would like to start by thanking all the three speakers for joining us today and sharing your insights on what you think about entrepreneurship. And as a team, we have been dwelling on this question, that what do we call, or when we introduce this in schools, in that too in government schools, how do we introduce entrepreneurship and at what level it should be? Your answers have actually given us good insights into how we can design the program. And uh, our inspiration is Kumarji. He's working on a social enterprise, and always whatever he tells us on policy, we have been incorporating in our project. I would also Tejas ji, the way you have understood our project really reflects from the answers you gave us. So thank you for that. And
Thank you so much. Really kind of
yes,
you to say that.
I think some of the key points that you told in whatever answers you gave, really we can really apply those directly in our handbooks. So thank you so much for that. And Tejas ji, what you told us about your personal experiences. Um, sorry, I'm missing that name.
Jatin.
Jatin ji, sorry. So the way you gave your personal experiences about how you started your business and what you learned from your parents was something we should think about when we have the working models done. And all three journeys have been so inspiring, very challenging and difficult journeys. So it was just really nice to have you all three as a panelist here today. And we would like to stay in touch as our project progresses. It will be amazing to have inputs from all of you, and take your guidance to complete this project. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think all of us are truly excited to contribute in any way possible. It was indeed a matter of sheer pleasure for me to be part of this panel, to hear Kumar and Jatin speak about their life experiences. It was incredible, and I want to learn about the work both of you are doing. And let's connect soon.
Thank you so much, everybody. It was indeed amazing. I was like so caught up with the whole discussion that I've kind of lost track as to what the project really is, because it was so interesting and intriguing. Thank you so much, everybody, for taking out time from your busy schedules. Means a lot. Okay, any other remarks to be added by any one of you?
Just thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you guys doing this. You should do it more often. Don't do it just as a project. Do it more, invite more speakers, give these students more exposure. And thanks, Karan, for your effort and all your team.
Thank you, everybody. Sanjay uncle had to leave midway. He has his niece's wedding tonight, so he was so kind to spare a few minutes from that time for us. So that's a message for him. He sends his apologies. Okay.
Thank you so much for having him. And very nice to meet you, Tejas and Jatin. Let's connect offline.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very, very glad for this
Thank you.
conversation to start my morning.
All the best, Tejas. All the best, Kumar. I mean, thank you guys for inspiring me as well. So I'm also your student. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Now we'll end the meeting.